Hey folks, in today's Conundrum, we will delve into the case of Jerome Henry Jerry Brudos, also known as the Shoe Fetish Slayer. He was an American necrophilic and ephebophilic rapist, serial killer, and abductor. We extend our gratitude to all of you for your continued support, and we warmly welcome our new viewers. Jerry Brudos was born on January 31, 1939, in Webster, South Dakota, as the youngest of two sons. Unfortunately, his childhood was marked by constant abuse inflicted by his mother, who harbored a deep desire for a daughter and was disappointed to have another son instead. It was during his early years, at the tender age of 5, that Brudos developed a peculiar fascination with women's shoes after coming across spike-heeled shoes at a junkyard. Disturbingly, he later confessed to attempting to steal his first-grade teacher's shoes. In addition to his fixation on women's shoes, Brudos also had a fetish for women's underwear, which led him to steal undergarments from his female neighbors. As a troubled teenager, he found himself admitted to several mental hospitals, where he received psychotherapy. However, his disturbing tendencies persisted. He would stalk local women, attacking them by knocking them down or choking them unconscious, and fleeing with their shoes as trophies. At the age of 17, Brudos escalated his violent behavior by abducting and brutally beating a young woman. He threatened her with a knife, coercing her to comply with his sexual commands. Shortly after this heinous act, Brudos was apprehended and confined to a psychiatric ward for a duration of 9 months. It was during this time that he received a diagnosis of schizophrenia and was identified as having an extreme hatred towards women, misogyny. Despite his institutionalization, Brudos defied the odds and managed to graduate from high school in 1957, eventually pursuing a career as an electronics technician. In 1961, he took a 17-year-old girl as his wife, and together they started a family, residing in a suburb of Salem, Oregon. However, the domestic life they shared was far from ordinary or healthy. Brudos subjected his young wife to degrading and disturbing acts, forcing her to perform household chores while naked, with only a pair of high heels adorning her feet, while he captured photographs of her. During this period, Brudos began experiencing frequent migraine headaches and unexplained blackouts. To alleviate these symptoms, he embarked on nocturnal prowling raids, stealing shoes and lacy undergarments. These stolen items, along with the eventual bodies of his future victims, were concealed in a garage that his wife was strictly forbidden from entering without first announcing her arrival through an intercom system. In 1967, Brudos fixated on a woman whose shoes had caught his attention. Following her to her residence, he broke into her home under the cover of night while she was asleep. He proceeded to sexually assault her, leaving her in a state of unconsciousness after strangling her. Satisfied with his disturbing conquest, he departed, absconding with some of her shoes as morbid souvenirs of his heinous act. On January 26, 1968, Jerry Brudos's twisted and homicidal fantasies became a chilling reality. Linda Slauson, a 19-year-old woman peddling encyclopedia sets, unknowingly walked into the clutches of the deranged killer when she knocked on his door. Oblivious to the danger that awaited her, she was lured by Brudos into the depths of his basement while his unsuspecting family remained upstairs. With a swift blow from a 2x4 wooden board, he rendered her unconscious. The life drained from her body as he strangled her. After taking Slauson's life, Brudos indulged in his macabre rituals. He dressed her in a macabre ensemble of various undergarments and shoes he had obtained through his nighttime raids. Posing the lifeless body, he photographed his grotesque creation. Consumed by his perverse desires, he dismembered her left foot using a hacksaw and kept it preserved in his basement freezer. Whenever the urge struck, he would retrieve the severed foot to model shoes upon it. Slauson's body, stripped of its dignity and defiled, was eventually discarded into the depths of the Willamette River. To this day, her remains have never been recovered, lost forever to the chilling darkness of the water. Sadly, Linda Slauson was not the last victim to fall prey to Brudos's depravity. Over the course of 15 months, he would claim the lives of 3 more innocent young women, while also attempting to assault several others who managed to escape his clutches. Jan Susan Whitney, 23 years old, met her tragic fate on November 26, 1968. Her car had broken down on I-5 between Salem and Albany, providing Brudos with an opportunity he couldn't resist. Under the guise of offering help, he enticed her back to his home, promising to call a tow truck. However, once inside, he revealed his true sadistic intentions. Jan Susan Whitney was strangled, violated, and her lifeless body was callously stored in the garage for several days. Eventually, she was tied to a car engine and discarded into the Willamette River, alongside Linda Slauson's severed foot. Brudos even went so far as to create resin casts of some of her body parts, using them as grotesque paperweights for his perverse pleasure. Karen Sprinker, an 18-year-old student at Oregon State University, encountered Brudos on March 27, 1969. Disguised as a woman, he approached her at gunpoint in the parking structure of Salem's Meyer and Frank department store. Karen fell victim to his sadistic desires, enduring the same torment as Jan Susan Whitney. The precise location of her final resting place remains uncertain, with conflicting information suggesting her body was disposed of in either the Willamette River or the Long Tom River near Monroe. Sharon Wood, a 24-year-old, narrowly escaped Brudos's clutches on April 21, 1969. As she walked near a parking garage at Portland State University, the killer attempted to abduct her at gunpoint. In a courageous act of self-defense, Sharon fought back, biting Brudos's thumb and managing to break free from his grip. Gloria Jean Smith, a 15-year-old girl, encountered Brudos on April 22, 1969, near Parish Middle School in Salem. Sensing danger, she instinctively resisted his advances and managed to escape his clutches. Conflicting information arises concerning Leanne Brumley, another 15-year-old girl who encountered Brudos on the same day. Some sources suggest that Leanne escaped his grasp, while others propose that she was, in fact, the one who eluded his clutches, with the intent of protecting Gloria Jean Smith's identity. On April 23, 1969, Linda Sully, a 22-year-old, fell victim to Brudos's masquerade. Disguised as a police officer, he abducted her from yet another parking garage in Salem. Linda endured unimaginable horrors, including hanging, rape, and electrocution, before meeting the same fate as the three other victims. Her lifeless body was disposed of in the river, joining the tragic and untold secrets that lie hidden beneath its surface. Jerry Brudos experienced a fateful incident that made him feel invincible. A drunk driver crashed into his home, leaving a gaping hole and providing a clear view inside. The police, seemingly oblivious or incompetent, failed to investigate the putrid odor emanating from a plastic-wrapped body on the property. Brudos relished the feeling of being untouchable and remarked to detectives, "That was close." Driven by his insatiable desire for victims, Brudos resorted to cold-calling college dorm rooms. One woman unwittingly played a crucial role in unraveling his dark secrets. The Long Tom River held a gruesome discovery, a body weighted down by a car transmission. 2 days later, another body was found nearby. Mutilation and distinctive knots, tied with copper wire, suggested the killer's methods. Dental records helped identify the victims, and a connection to college sororities emerged. The young woman who had interacted with Brudos shared his unsettling mention of the river bodies, ultimately breaking the case wide open. She cooperated with the police, arranging another meeting that led to Brudos encountering detectives instead. Despite his unremarkable demeanor, a search of his home uncovered undeniable evidence, matching copper wire, photographs of posed deceased women, and dismembered body parts stored in a garage. Jerry Brudos pleaded guilty to 3 first-degree murders and received consecutive life sentences. His wife divorced him, gaining custody of their children. Brudos remained unrepentant, collecting female shoe catalogs in prison. Denied parole, he faced assaults from fellow inmates. He died in 2006 from liver cancer, taking his secrets to the grave. In conclusion, the case of Jerry Brudos, the Oregon serial killer, is a harrowing tale of a man driven by dark desires and a twisted obsession with women's shoes. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the mind of a killer. I'm Alex, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious and stay safe.